Good afternoon, how we doing? Hopefully, sound's coming through and we're good. So, didn't do a Q&A yesterday with it being bank holiday. Hopefully, you definitely had something better, more exciting to do than be on your phone and listen to me talk about health and fitness and all things related on a Monday bank holiday, especially when the weather was as good as it was yesterday evening. So, I thought I'd jump on quickly tonight, just talk about a couple of things. Really questions that have come up and from clients in different places, therefore usually most of the time the answer is quite helpful to everyone, because when one person asks me something, it's usually related to something kind of a bit more, not just general, not obviously it's specific to them, but it's more general, probably an answer that I can give and be beneficial to everyone, as well as answering their question, which I've already done. So the first thing I'm going to talk about this evening is that it doesn't have to be perfect all the time. So it's very easy to think I've got to be doing everything right every single day to be making progress. And to a degree, you know, that's right. That's in an ideal world. And you know, I follow a lot of social media accounts related to fitness. It's kind of, you know, people of the same interests kind of get drawn together. So I see other personal trainers and other people that are really into their fitness, and depending on their life stage, usually depends on how kind of dogmatic's the wrong word, but how in a sense strict and how kind of on it all the time they are. So I see the younger single boys and girls being exactly on time, where they've got they're going to eat, what they're going to eat, well planned out in advance. I'm going to do this workout on this day, and it's all kind of very, very, it's all laid out and really structured, which is good. You know, I'm not knocking that at all. But then as kind of life goes on and you see people in relationships and you see people married, you see people with kids as well, it all becomes a little bit more relaxed in a sense, a little bit more of a looser structure, and the stuff still gets done. I still see people that are that bit older, with different life, more responsibility, getting it done, but without the kind of same kind of rigid programming and plan, in the sense of the principles are all still the same, but they are just a lot more relaxed about how and when it gets done. So as I say, the principles are there, the nutrition principles are there, the training principles are there, but there's a bit more kind of ebb and flow to how it gets done, when it gets done, and how it fits into a lifestyle. And that's cool. I've been in a position when I was in my early into mid-20s, when I was first personal training, where it was that kind of nailed on. Everything was, I trained at this time and did this stuff when I trained at that session, and then I did this stuff in the next session, and you know, from September to April, it was all geared around kind of being in the best possible position to play a good game of rugby on a Saturday. So my harder training would go on a Monday and a Tuesday and a Wednesday, then I'd taper off and be, you know, trying to recover as best I could, ready for the Saturday. And sometimes, you know, sessions, the first session of the week would be that great because still got the little niggles and things from rugby. And you do everything you can to recover, but at that stage of my life was in a sense my own, other than my work as a personal trainer, and then as a health and fitness manager. But literally, everything was diaried and off I went. And then I became a general manager and also was then engaged in and getting married, and things became a little bit more unstructured, to the point for a time where there was no structure at all, and I wasn't training the same, and nutrition was out the window and all sorts. And you go kind of, I think you do have to, sometimes there is going to be stages in life where that happens, and I don't regret that. I learned from it, but at the same time, there probably could have been ways that I could have kept something going. But at that stage of my kind of fitness journey for myself, I was very much at a place of, well, if I can't train this way, then I'm not going to train at all. So then fast forward to the kind of 2012 time, when by that time, you know, I really changed as a teacher, and in the kind of university PGCE extra year, I'd been doing 5 days a week in school or at university, mixture of the two at times, most of the time on placements, kind of very traditional PGCE route for being a teacher, being in a school most of the time, and then started working in the school as well immediately after it finished, and I was DJing as well to kind of bring in some extra money, because although I got a bursary for teaching, because I was going into science teaching, it wasn't enough really for family life. The kids were very, very young and I wasn't working, all that sort of thing. And I put it out there last week, really showing that I was really out of shape by that time, and had to really get a mindset of understanding that any activity, any exercise was good and just fitting it in. So I used to get up a little bit early and do my go for a run. I started off as a walk. I was that out of shape. I was just walking with a dog, and then instead of running a bit more and then doing bodyweight exercises. And I put the results out there last week of what I managed to do in the 12-week transformation, and genuinely didn't go to the gym at all in that time. So I kind of started to learn a completely different way of training, which really is the basis of what we're using now for MW Fitness Online, kind of like the bodyweight workouts and all that sort of thing started then. So kind of 8 years of kind of refining that and building that up, and then different house moves and things like that. Wasn't always the time or the money to join a gym until really 2013, 14 really is when I first started kind of consistently back at the gym, which is when I joined Flax. And even then it wasn't that consistent, it was up and down for quite a long time. So yeah, no worries mate, no problem at all. Yeah, there's gonna be no problem. So that consistency kind of comes and goes through different stages of life. And what I like to think I'm trying to get across now is that whatever you can do and however that fits in is always going to be better than not doing anything at all. So therefore there is kind of no perfect exercise structure, there's no perfect workout that you can do. The best activity, exercise or workout is the one you can fit in and do. And there's obviously time's a big factor with that, when that fits in, and then also where you're at, as in terms of what your capacity, what your conditioning is, what your fitness level is, and getting the workouts right for that. Because we want to have a challenge. If we put it on a scale of 1 to 10, at times across a week or a couple of weeks, we want to push up to 8 or 9 level of challenge, maybe twice probably in that time, and then the rest of the time we want to be doing activity 6, 7, maybe up into 8 fairly regularly. So it's a nice little challenge most of the time, but not to the point where it has a negative impact on the rest of our lives, because we are generally, being that bit older now, have more responsibilities, we've got work to keep going, we've got families to keep going, things are different to maybe the time that you may have had yourself when you were a bit younger, or the time some other people seem to have now because they're a bit younger, and that's cool. It's different ways of doing things for different times. The principles, as I say, remain the same in terms of energy in, energy out, the right amount of calories for the goal, that either being a deficit for fat loss and losing weight, just above maintenance or a bit more for building muscle, and progressing what we're doing steadily away. And that progress looks like lots of different things we've talked about before. It can look like making sure consistently hitting 10,000 steps a day, and then taking that to 10,400 the next, or 2 weeks later, for the next couple of weeks, and finding ways just to increase that. And then, okay, so we've got that, we're getting the steps done, then what else can we add to that? Are we adding Pilates routines to that? Are we adding steady bodyweight workouts to that, before we get into anything that's even more high intensity? And that intensity scale of 1 to 10, that RPE, relative perceived exertion, the scale a lot of fitness people use. And my 10 is going to be different to someone else's 10. Therefore, the workouts are going to be different, more potentially in maybe some of the variations of the moves. As we talked about before, the body only really works in 6 different main moves. When we're talking about some workouts with limited equipment, maybe we're only going to move the body in 4 or 5 of those different moves. Vertical presses, pressing out from the body like a chest press. Pull movements, a bit more difficult to do just with body weight or limited equipment. Lower body we can work probably pretty hard. We can work lower body pretty well without any equipment, as we can the core and the chest and things like that, the shoulders, press ups, planks, that sort of thing. So it's putting those things together in the right sort of way to be challenging for you, which is why I try and scale and vary all the workouts in terms of this is kind of the main move, and this is how you ease it back for your level, or this is how you progress it a bit more if you are looking for more of a challenge. And that is going to look different for everyone, and hopefully we're all making little steps of progress. All these steps are nice little steps of progress. So there's no perfect workout or no perfect exercise activity. There's only just the best ones for you at the time you've got. And that might be, do you know what, I've literally got 10 minutes, so I'm going to do these 2 rounds of Tabata. That's just a workout type. Did it this morning in the group, and it might be, do you know what, I'm just going to do the core part, and I'm just going to do the finisher part, and I'm going to scale it to fit my fitness. That's it. 8 minutes, a little bit of warming up and a little stretch afterwards. You're going to have covered a really good full body workout. Just having those different methods available to do that. And maybe on another day, I've got some people message me from the group and say, I've got a bit more time today, so I want to put 2 workouts together. Which 2 sessions are going to work well together? Absolutely fine. And usually I recommend kind of one that's a bit steadier to one that's more high intensity to follow up. That's cool. So for instance, one of the ladies in the group really enjoys doing the weights, but she wanted to do 2, so I suggested she did the weights first without doing some of the cardio bits, and then did a couple of Tabata sets afterwards. That sort of thing. You just mix and match to make it work for you. And one of the main focuses from the original question I was asked by one of the guys in the group was that if my nutrition's not great for one particular meal, then I don't feel like I'm going to have a good day. And in a sense, it's kind of like, well, because that wasn't great, because I had to grab something because I was out and about or whatever, then I don't feel like it's worth it for the day. I'm not going to get the best out of it for the day. And the advantage he had was he's a guy. I understand that makes it a bit different, because for us guys, having a higher calorie need, one kind of bad meal in inverted commas, everybody, you're right, means that you've kind of got more to play with. There's more kind of calories in the account to play with, to go, do you know what, that might not have been the best, and I've used 600 calories on having to grab this baguette from the garage because I was on the way to go to work and back in emergency this time, all that sort of thing. So now I've got more to play with. Someone on a lower calorie intake, not going to have not as much to play with. But as long as we stick with the principle of the calories in is the main thing. So if that does go over on a day, then we can look at another day to ease that back and balance it out over a longer period across the week, rather than thinking, oh, today's gone, that's a write-off. And sometimes if that happens on a Saturday, then we write Sunday off as well. So we've got more to kind of find and pay back the following week. But we can forward plan if we know something's coming up, and then we can reverse engineer it if we need to. So if a day does go over for whatever reason, then we can ease that back another time. I like to say, if one meal's out and then, that's going to knock the macros out today because I had to have, baguette's a good example, had like 70, 80 grams of carbohydrates in this baguette. They only had cheese and tomato left, so basically I had a tiny amount of protein, and now percentages are way off. So on that particular day, it's not going to matter too much. The macros are kind of a ballpark area. If for what most of us are trying to achieve is maintaining or weight loss or fat loss, calories are the main thing, the in and out, you know. And actually, we can potentially as well, at some point across a week, you know, maybe we'll get that longer walking, maybe we'll do 2 back-to-back workouts and have a little kind of, we'll eat into the calories on that side of it as well, not just on the food side. Probably good to say at this point, you can't out-train excessive calorie intake, but clearly exercise, working out, does eat into calories, both how you're doing it and depending on the type of workout, the type of activity, in the recovery as well, which is why we do it. It's contributing to that calorie deficit if we're looking at fat loss and weight loss, and it's causing a stimulus on the body to change. You know, hopefully we're going to get that. If that's the goal, we're going to have the fat loss and the weight loss going on, and then look better at the end of it by maintaining the muscle that we have got. And you know, that's cyclical. I talked about different things of, you know, backing off from that sometimes to give the body a rest and having, you know, kind of like that deload or that maintenance week and things like that. And you know, if you are thinking you need something like that, please give me a shout. I'm happy to kind of work that out in terms of, okay, so these are the calories you're on, that's in a deficit because it's going the right way, this is what we need to take it to. Most of us kind of do our own kind of deload and maintenance just by, do you know what, it's Friday and we're gonna just have a kind of, cheat meal's the wrong word, I'm just gonna have a meal of what I fancy, you know, and that's gonna replenish glycogen, you know, carbohydrates probably gonna be a big part of that, you know, fish and chips, pizza, all those sorts of things. That's gonna just bump up those glycogen levels, those glucose levels, make you feel full. Often on the weekend, if you haven't got kids, you might sleep a little bit more, or you're going to be more active, or both, you know, so that'll immediately start to counteract the amount of calories you've taken on that extra bit. And it's just getting that right, that balance across. And you know, no one's perfect all the time, just that some people kind of plan it and categorize it as a cheat meal, and it's one way of doing it. Generally, if someone is still making progress around a cheat meal, it's because that cheat meal doesn't take their calories over and above being out of the area they're supposed to be in terms of a deficit. It's just that they're using that food choices for that particular meal, or that afternoon, or whatever it is, to be able to help with sticking to the rest of the plan. And that's another reason to kind of have those things. And it works really well for some people, or for me, you know, opening, what's an example? Those Cadbury's brunch bars. Oh, I've 1 or 2 of those just as a treat. I'm going to have the whole box. So some of those things, you know, have to kind of be careful about, in a sense, kind of what you put in front of yourself. You know, if it's getting pizza, I mean, obviously I'm fortunate that I've got Hannah and the kids, and we're all sharing everything. So the likelihood of me eating a whole pizza is much diminished. But you know, historically, given half a chance, that's what I do. So you know, it's horses for courses in that sense. Some people can go, do you know what, I can go to do my supermarket shop, I can buy these little things and spread them out through the week, or I can go on a Friday afternoon, Saturday afternoon, I'm going to buy these set items for this one particular meal, have that, knowing that it fits, and then go back to kind of my normal kind of routine and normal plan. And that's also why I like people not to go too far, to start kind of making universal wholesale changes to start with, because we operate on default systems, and unless we make our own default system and start to alter it little tiny bits at a time to make it work, we end up so far away from what we have been doing that if we do go back to what we were doing completely, then the two aren't going to match up. What I'd like to do is help you guys to match up what you prefer and what you like and having at the moment, and tweak it to make it better, rather than going, no, you've got to scrap all that and do all this stuff instead. Because my kind of best eating plan that works best for me, around my convenience, around my needs, my tastes, isn't going to match somebody else's. Again, I see lots of these things because of the other things I watch on YouTube. You see kind of these videos that people have done of, I copied X person's, X kind of fitness person's eating plan for a week, 2 weeks, a month, and this is what happened. You know, that might work, that might not, you know, especially if you copy someone in America. You probably won't find half the food, or have to start Googling everything to find out what they call the stuff that's different to us. That's just really an aside, but you know what I'm saying? It's that we're all very individual. We have individual tastes, we have individual needs. I'd rather help someone slowly tweak their nutrition to get better, and if you've got family and things like that, make it so that you can slowly change what everyone's having, and therefore you're not kind of starting to end up cooking 2 meals or whatever to have your own little meal separate and things like that. And you know, some people do that out of choice. That's cool. But hopefully, by moving your own food to be fitting what you're doing, and maybe that would include looking like some healthier choices as well, then that's only going to benefit everybody that's doing that, if you like, kind of do it for the whole family or whatever. So yeah, it's about realising it can't be perfect, and no one has a perfect nutrition, and people that do have perfect nutrition are usually the people that then say, oh, but on Friday night, Saturday night, I've had this cheat meal or whatever. So in a sense, in terms of perfect, in terms of health or whatever, they're not doing that anyway. They're just doing what most people do with the principles, is fit the food they like to work for the goal, which, you know, calories, getting enough protein most days, and then the rest carbohydrates and fats from where you want, for your taste. Yeah, that's what most people are doing. And people kind of start off, they get a load of knowledge, they start working in the fitness industry particularly, and they're quite dogmatic about the system and this and that, and then actually, hopefully over time, they realise there's definitely more than one way to do things, and there has to be, in a sense, lots of ways to do things, because if you want to work with people as individuals, everyone's individual in what they want and their taste and everything like that. So there's no perfect exercise, workout, activity plan. It's the best one that works for you, and there's no perfect days of nutrition. There's just the best days that work for you. And in a sense, all food is food. All food breaks down in the body. Some of it has bits that aren't as helpful in it, and the body has to process it and then get rid of it, and other food is more palatable and the body responds better to it. And you know, I've talked about it before, if we get 80-20, good, 20% the extra other bits to kind of keep us on track, keep us sane, not feel like it's too restrictive, then that's great. And like I say, just saying before, that can work in different ways. That could mean that 18, 19 of your meals every week are really structured and thought out, and then 2 or 3 are a bit more relaxed, and that keeps you on track. Or you just go for little things spaced out across the week. You know, you have your small dairy milk or whatever, one a day. You know, I've seen top level fitness people, and you can find these on YouTube as well, where they've got into sort of like peak condition for competing, and have purposely included something that kind of freaks everybody out, that there's no way you should be able to get into that shape. There's a girl called Sohee Lee, and she actually lives in the UK now, but she was based in America. She's worked with a couple of really top coaches, as in she was she's got a PhD, so she interned and worked under some like top level sports scientists, and she competes in ladies physique competitions. And for one of her preps for that, getting ready for that, she purposely included a Snickers every single day. Now, for the amount of calories she was on, which wasn't too low, she admitted it used up more than she'd liked. She could have used those 300 calories for a lot more food in terms of volume, but she stuck to it. She saw it out, but people were kind of losing their mind that she'd done that, in the sense of, because there's so many kind of dogmatic things about what fitness food looks like, and then there was someone she worked with, a guy called Lane Norton, top level nutritionist in the sports science world, a couple of PhDs, different areas of study in nutrition. He's done similar things as well, and people just can't get their head around the fact that actually it's more simple than a lot of people make it. He's very much in the kind of energy in, energy out. Do these things because you've got you're working towards these goals, so you tweak it around like that, and 80-20 and all those different things, and people are like, "Oh, but you've got to do this." And I was like, "No, you don't." I mean, he's borderline offensive at times, because people come at him with absolute bobbins scientifically, and ideas and things that are just so off the wall, in a sense of making it more complicated than it needs to be. That in some ways I can understand that he's kind of got bored of answering the same question over and over again, and you have to watch 2 or 3 of his videos to kind of get the sense of, he's broken it down to make it quite simple, work on principles like I like to work on, and as I said before, you can't sell principles, so people will argue with him because they want to sell their package diet nutrition, but you can't sell principles, because they become more universal and a bit more simplified. The trick, the hard part, is once you understand the principles, is implementing them, because that's where all the other stuff kind of comes at us. We're emotional beings, we have good days and bad days, and we have ways of dealing with that, and a lot of us deal with that through food or a drink or whatever it is, and it's that part that's the hard part. And we have energy goes up and energy goes down, and that makes us, in a sense, we're like a living, breathing car, in the sense of we're like a vehicle. When we feel low on energy, if the car's low on energy, on fuel, you're going to top it up. When we feel low on energy, we top it up, and we've got to sometimes plan how we're going to top it up to make sure we top it up well, rather than just chucking anything in to keep ourselves going. And I think that's just modern life, So that's the harder part, is the actual implementation. So hope that's been some useful stuff tonight. Don't feel like you're off track because it's not perfect. You're probably still on track, or just got to do a little bit of tweaking either side of whatever's going on to kind of stay on track. And so we've got workout in 10 minutes, weights workout. We'll do it out here on the front lawn, a little bit cooler, shades on, in terms of the shades on this side of the house, which is great. And so workout at 6 o'clock with the weights. Hope you've had a really good day, and catch up in a little bit working out.